related chemicals. So we have 3 different types of rodent chemicals that we use that we wanted to go through in a little bit more detail because, again, a lot of you guys have had questions about that. So Garrett, why don't you get started with, what was it, the block types of chemicals?
Yep, we use a block bait that we put in a bait station, and that way it's under lock and key, so animals, kids, they can't get into it, and it's completely safe that way then.
So what does the block bait look like?
Okay, but first, this is the bait station we typically use. It's very hard plastic, and you have to have a key to open it. Once it's open, the block bait is on a bar in there so that the mice have to eat it right there, and then they can't take it away and store it.
And you were talking about their storage units.
Yep.
I asked if they have to purchase their storage units or what they do with them, but then he said, you know what, the storage units are actually in your home or your garage, so make sure that your storage units that you think of, that you put your boats in or whatever it might be, is not the same that they have.
Yep, and that's why we recommend not using the pellet form of the bait, because they will take that and they will store it in your walls, ceilings, anywhere else.
Yeah. So you set up the bait stations around their houses, their residences, and then like barns and garages and that type of thing. Is that normal, or what? How many bait stations, or what's kind of standard for what you guys do with bait stations?
It depends on the size of the property, how bad the infestation is. If it's real bad, we're going to start out with a lot more, and then we'll kind of work it down. And we'll be doing that service more often than two until we get the population knocked down. And once we get that population knocked down, we get it on a steady stream, and it's usually fairly reasonable rate then.
Okay. So you start with more depending on how many mice or rodents you have, and then go down from there.
Correct.
So okay, can you pull this up again? Because I just have a couple questions.
Sure.
So a mouse goes in, and how are they attracted to this bait station? Why are they even going in here?
We'll put these along walls. Mice travel along the wall, and then they got a nice little dark hole. It kind of seems nice and calm in there. So they'll go in there, and the bait is actually, it's a bait, so it attracts them too. Mm-hmm. So they'll go in there, and you can see the bait there.
Okay.
And rats will typically take a couple weeks because they're more leery of new objects in
to go
their
inside
area.
or
Yep.
to eat the bait?
To go inside. They will wait a couple weeks until they think it's safe.
Wow. So once they find out it's safe, then they'll enter, and then do they usually eat the bait right away, or do they have to wait 2 more weeks to make sure the bait's safe?
The mice are going to eat it right away. They don't care. Rats, they may or may not eat it right away. Once they enter it and they see that there's some food in there that's smelling pretty good, they're probably going to eat it.
Okay. So we have the bait. We have the bait station. They're all around your house, all around the outside of your house. The mice can eat them. So if the mouse or a rat eats the bait and then they travel on, do they usually die in the bait station, or do they go outside of the bait station, or what's the process?
No, actually, it's going to take anywhere from 8 to 24 hours to kill the rat or mouse. Rats usually take a little longer. After they eat it, it's an anticoagulant, so it'll make them real thirsty, and they'll typically look for water. So if they are in your house, they're usually going to actually go outside and look for water. 95% of the time, they're going to die outside.
So for those of us not medically inclined, what's coagulant?
Anticoagulant.
Anticoagulant.
So that means it makes their blood so it won't coagulate.
So it thins their blood out?
Yep. Basically, they're going to bleed to death. So.
R.I.P. Well, so they're outside, but I have cats and dogs running around outside. Then they eat the mouse. Then what happens?
Nothing. There is no secondary poisoning.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So what happens if you have a bait station outside and for some reason it breaks, or I can't get in, or it opens up somehow? Has that ever happened?
Very rare. Usually when that happens, somebody runs over our bait stations. I have not had any issues with any dogs or cats or humans getting into the bait then. But if it does happen, There's steps to take to help take care of them.
Okay.
Usually, if you know, say your dog got into the bait, he ate it, you watched him do it, you know he did it. If he's not already throwing up, you can induce vomiting by giving them 1 teaspoon or 5 cc's of hydrogen peroxide per 10 pounds of body weight.
So 5 cc's per 10 pounds of body weight.
Yep.
Okay.
And that has to be done orally. You know, you get it into their stomach, it'll react, and then they will throw up the poison. But you still want to get them to a vet. And if you're unsure if they ate any poison, just take them to the vet anyway. Most of our block bait, the antidote is vitamin K. So the best option is always to take them to a vet and have them check it out.
Okay.
And with these newer rat poisons, it's hard for a vet to tell if it's been rat poison actually because of the timing. The older generation of bait was actually like a warfarin, which is actually used in humans today for different types of blood diseases. And that, the older generation, they had to feed on it multiple times. The newer generation, they just have to eat it one time.
Okay, so it's quicker.
Yep. Yep.
Which is good.
So you have to be quicker getting that dog to the vet or doing whatever.
So I mean, so it takes a rat 24 hours. So I mean, you have some time with a dog, or does it? I mean, what are we looking at?
Depends how much they consume.
And if you have Beethoven or the Taco Bell dog.
Right. If you have Beethoven and he ate just a few pieces of bait, it's probably not even going to affect him. But if you got a little dog that ate three blocks of bait, get him help right away.
Well, we hope it doesn't happen. Like Garrett said, it's never happened to us. So knock on sofa that it doesn't happen. But it's just precautionary measures that we have to make sure that we know about, and we want you to know about, just in case you run into something like that, or your dog gets into, dogs or cats or children or husband or wife or whatever get into your poison. So that's the block bait, and that's the most common that we use, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what you talked about pellets a little bit before. What's or with liquid bait?
Liquid bait.
What one do you want to talk about next?
Liquid bait.
Okay.
It's basically the same thing. It's going to have different active ingredient, but we just mix the bait with water, and we put it into trays, and then they'll drink it, and same thing happens.
And that goes into the bait station as well.
Yep. Usually we'll put it in the bait station. We'll put it in little bowls.
Nice. I hope you don't take the bowls from our kitchen.
No, I do
and then
not.
put them back.
I don't.
So they put them in bait station. So why would you use that and not use the blocks?
If it's a real bad infestation or we're just having trouble getting them to go to the bait, maybe there's a bunch of grain laying around, it's hard to get them to go to the bait. But if it's warmer weather, hot weather, we put out the liquid and
put a little ice cube in it so it's chilled.
Yeah, we could try.
So it's just different. So you usually start with the block and then switch it up depending upon what the temperature is or what the situation calls for.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Jeez. Are you hiring? Sounds like I get a job. Okay, so we talked about the blocks, liquid, and then the other kind was pellets.
No, we do not use pellets. We don't recommend them.
Okay.
Because they'll take it and store it.
Okay, but you can talk about them.
Yeah, I can talk about it. It's going to be the same active ingredient actually as the bait blocks, but if we do use it, we don't use it. But if you do use it, a lot of times they'll take it, they'll store it in their storage units. And
so if they buy is that something you buy over the counter? Is that common to buy over the counter, or what are people buying over the counter for rodent control?
Yep, a lot of people will buy that. It comes in bags now too, that the mice will chew through the bag, and then they'll get the pellets out.
Not recommended.
No, I don't recommend it. If you're gonna do anything by yourself, do the block bait and make sure it's secured so they have to eat it right there. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And then was there something else, another type of bait you wanted to talk about?
Yep, it's not really a bait. It's actually a tracking powder. What we'll do with that's our last resort. That's when we just can't get them knocked down. The circumstances just aren't working. That we'll put in inaccessible areas that no pets, humans can get close to. It might be a crawl space. A lot of times we'll put it in these bait stations so nobody can get into it. And what happens is they will walk through it, and then when they're grooming themselves, they will ingest it.
So, and weren't you telling me one time that mice groom themselves all the time? Like, how disgusting and gross we all think mice are. They're actually extremely clean.
Yep, their bodies are actually very clean. It's the urine and feces that they leave behind, and then when they walk through any other diseases or germs, they'll move them then. But they actually groom themselves over 50% of the time that they're doing stuff.
Sounds like a boring life. Just constantly cleaning.
Yep.
Sounds like, I was gonna say my mother, but my mom's not constantly cleaning.
So.
Do you have anything else?
No, I think that should cover it.
All right. Well, again, the 3 types of chemicals that we use for rodents, so mice and rats, are the black type, and that's what we usually start with. We use the liquid, and then we also have the tracking powder. That is something that only pest control technicians can use, so you definitely want to get us involved if you have a severe problem and you kind of tried everything else. Yeah. So again, we're certainly happy to come and give you a free inspection, look at your problems to determine if it's something that you need a professional for, or maybe we could just tell you to get this and this yourself, and you can take care of it. I've actually heard you say that to people before, so it just kind of depends on what you're going through. So please